Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is college basketball Thursday, December 28th. Cousin Jared, I think you're kind of like subbing in all week as Jake is traveling. I think it might be like most this week. So I hope people like seeing your face.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's had a little bit of a break. Everybody has had an opportunity to prepare themselves. For me, being on their screen or in their ears more often. So, I would say let's get right to it. I feel like the people probably want some picks after they haven't had some, at least in this medium, for a while.
They haven't. 2 days without college basketball. Wednesday night there are 2 games. We weren't going to do a show for 2 games, though we do have 3 A-grade picks. Or 2 A-grade picks and a B-grade play of the day, and all that. So we have picks tonight for Wednesday. If you're with us on Dub Club, if you're just itching for college basketball, the show might be out in time for you to sign up and get it. Still, we're recording very early in the day because we actually have lines a little bit earlier because of the situation here. Quick update just for everybody in case they were curious. And if you do not care at all, I don't blame you. You can just skip forward to the games. But Mrs. Professor has been released from the hospital. Baby Professor is in the NICU. It's like the nice NICU though. It's not the like scary NICU. It's like he's just small, which is what happens when you're born at 36 weeks. Sometimes he sleeps through feeds. So it's just kind of we just got to get him a little bit bigger, but everything is good for the most part. Which is a relief for us. Yeah. So a little Christmas baby almost. He was born just a couple days before. So,
and if you seem more tired than normal, no reason that might be the case.
For now, it's not because him being in the NICU is like 2 a.m. feeding comes. Like I can just sleep right through it. There's a nurse that didn't do that, right? But it's coming. It's coming for sure. Because you have a near Christmas baby as well. So we are both now into the near Christmas baby. So that's always fun. We got 3 games here covered on Thursday. A lot of West Coast action. We're going to cover 3 West Coast games. Just a quick recap here. To set us up, it's been a while, but the week 7 side of the day went 5-1. It continues to rock and roll, folks. You can get the side of the day at Black Book Sports. That link is in the show description. The cost is $10 a month, so it's a whole lot cheaper. You just get the one play. If you're just looking for one good play that we don't cover on show that's so far churning out a 20% ROI, you need to be over there at minimum. If you're with us on Dub Club, you get all of that as well. We only had, I think, 1 show last week of college basketball. We did get the side right. I just want to quick talk. We talked about A-grade moneyline favorites had been a little bit disappointing. They're starting to come around, which is what we saw 14-7. And we do need to be much better than 500 because those are minus odds. But we made a lot of money on A-grade moneyline favorites last week. 7-8 on dogs. We made money there too because we don't even have to beat 500 with the plus odds. So A-grade money lines did really well last week. That should be plus 1.7% ROI. There, I did change the color. I forgot to change the minus as I'm editing these. But the sides did well last week. The totals have done well all season, and we talked about it a little bit last week. Under struggling, a lot fewer points scored last week for whatever reason. This weird sort of dips happen in college basketball. Unders did really well. We have a lot of unders for Thursday. It's not anything other than I think there's just a lot of slower paced teams and weaker offenses playing on Thursday. So we have more unders than overs for the totality. But Cousin Jared, you were mentioning this before we came on as you were checking the slides. There's a lot of green there on the totals. They've been really good to us all season, and it's been just an awesome ride with totals.
Yeah, and we talked about it. Fewer points last week. This is also something I'm watching just as we're coming out of the holiday. People taking a couple of days off. Are we going to see some lower scoring games? And I feel like you generally see that as well early in conference play. You see some lower scoring games, and the offenses are able to adjust as conference goes on. So I'm wondering if we're going to be riding some unders here for the next few weeks.
Of the 18, I believe, games on Thursday, only 5 of them are non-conference games. And I think you're right, a lot of times with conference play, you start seeing the refs start learning the players. They know the players from last year a little bit before. They kind of know what's happening. They call the game a little bit tighter usually. It's a little bit more measured pace, less go out there and fun and have experiment. Now the games matter a little bit more, especially for these small schools, that the only way they were going to make the tournament was winning their conference championship anyway. So they use this, a lot of them, as a time to experiment with different things and try different things. So maybe a little bit more leaning under going forward. We'll see. I'm kind of holding my breath there. We'll see how it plays out. The model will obviously adjust. We do have a fun neutral site game that we aren't going to cover. Albany and Long Island get to play, and they're the big lights in at Barclays. which will be the biggest arena I'm sure a lot of those kids will ever get to play in. So a lot of fun for them, even though it'll be a lot of empty seats. But otherwise, again, if you're looking for picks on that game and all the games, Dub Club is the place to be, folks. You are running out of time if you haven't yet. You have until the end of the year before prices jump. Lock in your price now. It'll be good forever going forward as prices increase. As I increase the models, as I increase the output and the features and everything that's happening, the prices will continue to jump, but your price will be the same forever. And you can get $10 off your first month if you use the promo code on the screen there. If you click the link in the show description, or you take a picture of the QR code, that code will automatically be applied. So you don't have to type it in. When you click that link, it'll take you to the Dub Club place and it'll say promo code applied. It'll show you your $10 off for your first month, and then you will get a better rate than everybody else going forward. So you're running out of time. If you haven't joined us yet to get information on all the games, give it a month. Check it out. See if you like it. That way you've got options. You can lock yourself in going forward. If you do like it, if you don't, it was just 1 month and $10 off. It's a low risk. We have a great retention rate over there because of all the information we get. People tend to like what they get. So if you're looking for more picks, that is a place to check out. Give it a shot.
I would also say it's a efficient use of your money for your time, because if you're thinking I have to sit and listen to these guys talk to get all of my picks every day, you get a lot more concise and detailed information that you can probably, consume much faster, because you can read a lot faster than you can listen usually. So it's also just an efficient use of your time, in my opinion.
Or you can skim through and if you don't want to hear the extra fluff, right? And that's another point, there are a lot of people out there, I think, who love hearing the shows and would love us to just talk more about the games. And they want to hear what we're saying, and they want to be able to kind of react to that and say, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't agree, and whatnot. And then you have the other people, like you said, who don't. They're just kind of like looking for the picks, So depending on what you want, I've tried my hardest to give people over there on Dub Club, no matter what type of bettor you are, something for everyone, whether it's I try to provide some quick summaries. Here's what it is, some more detailed summaries, all the things, all the links necessary. And again, ad-free shows as well, which can be a fun thing for you if you don't like the YouTube ads. I've been listening to a little more Spotify lately, being in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the Spotify ads are like more frequent than they used to be. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't pay for Spotify Premium, but I have been listening to enough ads. I'm thinking next year my promo codes are just going to be like grape. Or like raisin, because I feel like the promo codes are used to just random words. Like I was trying to be cute with these, so we'll have some fun with some promo codes. Maybe we'll have like red zebra or something fun for next year when we make promo codes for special giveaways. But again, giveaways and special prices next year aside, will still be at a higher base rate. So now is your time to lock it in. That was a lot of talking. We'll get to it here. 9 p.m. Eastern, starting with the late games. There's a lot of them. Portland State and Eastern Washington. These are two very decent teams. Portland State, a little bit weaker on offense, a little bit stronger on defense. Eastern Washington, a little bit stronger on offense, a bit weaker on defense. Very just average, run-of-the-mill team. Should be a tight contest. Eastern Washington wants to accelerate the pace a little bit of this. And as we've talked about, Sideline does kind of lean its projected pace for the game towards the faster team based off of how much different it is and some other factors like that. So we are thinking there should be an above average number of points in this, but the quality of offenses just aren't good enough for us to think it should be quite this high. We're going to go under 148.5. B grade pick, as the model projects, 146.1. Solidly a B grade pick unless you can get a number really that's 150 or higher. So we think worth the under, even though it's not the A grade under. No idea where the number will go. We are recording this way early. So, this number could drop to 146, at which point we would probably say maybe if you want to sprinkle under, go for it, but we're not really loving it. Could go up, and if you can get under 150, that's where we would tell you to put a little bit more on it. Because, Jared, of all the games you could pick, all the totals you could pick, why is this one of the two, really? Because the other was a gimme. One of the two that jumped out to you.
Well, I feel like I'm trying to learn from my own mistakes, because last season, anytime that I saw a Portland State total, I was very hesitant to go under, because they do play with a fairly quick pace. And if you look at, how they're playing so far this season, it's come down a little bit. It's still slightly above average, but more of an average team. But I was still kind of playing these games with that same thing in mind. It's like, Portland State, a lot of full court press. They like to play up tempo, full court press, basically, in my mind, sometimes it just makes things happen faster. You're going to score faster. The other team's going to have
you're going to get a turnover right by the basket, and so it makes for it quick. Or you're going to give up a quick layup because they broke it and have a great look.
Yes, exactly. And that's the way that they were playing a lot last season. They definitely are still pressing this season, but that has just not translated to games going over the total. Of the 10 games that Portland State has played, only seven have gone under. Only 3 have gone over the total this season, or at least games where they had lines. Some of these games that they've played against the small teams didn't have lines. So anyway, 3 overs and 7 unders this year. So I just feel like this is a situation that we need to capitalize on. Eastern Washington definitely is a team that can get up and down the court. They like to play fast, but 2 fairly evenly matched teams, maybe a little bit of a hangover coming off of the holidays, maybe a little slow to get going. Eastern Washington for playing fast, their offense is only average. So I'm just trying to capitalize on the mistakes that I made earlier this season, which is not going heavy enough on these Portland State unders because I was scared. But my mind has been changed. I'm on the Portland State unders now.
One could argue this is the second best game of the day. According to my model, it is the third best game of the day. It is a little bit of a weaker slate. Who'd have known, Cousin Jared coming and talking about Portland State running the full court press. I would have never imagined that you would drop that little nugget on us. But just to kind of recap, I think what I'm seeing is just looking at the screen again. If you're with us on YouTube, we have a lot of good graphics here about these teams and their metrics. According to Sideline, when, Eastern Washington has the ball, you can see there that they're going to be at a disadvantage if they do like to play fast. But Portland State's defense is better than Eastern Washington's offense. When you flip that around, what you'll see is a fairly even matchup. But as we often talk about, even matchups with better quality tends to favor the offense. Equal matchups with weaker quality tends to favor the defenses, just because of the talent at the top end of college basketball scoring and the ability to kind of just play a little bit harder on defense and make up for deficiencies that you can't just play hard on offense and make up for that. So in my opinion, both defenses are going to have the edge, and that's kind of why I think under makes a little bit more sense. Pace-wise, it should be a tiny bit up there, but maybe not quite to the extreme the books think. So under 148.5, B grade pick for us in Portland State and Eastern Washington. USC and Oregon, this is the game of the day, without doubt, the best game of the day. It's not even close. Southern Cal, according to Sideline, ranks 34th. Oregon, 74th. 2 decent teams. You wouldn't know by the records. USC's played a much tougher schedule. You could obviously argue, with some of those losses, some of their, higher rating is they have good losses, right? And what does that exactly mean? That's obviously one way to go about it and look at it. But Oregon, of course, with 8-3, hasn't really played great competition. Sideline still thinks that USC has the better offense and the better defense. While they're on the road, this is pretty close to a coin toss game. Cousin Jared, one of our favorites. The WTF game, wrong team favored. USC plus 116 is an A grade. That's what we locked it in at just based off when I pulled the lines. But by the time I pulled the lines, when I made the bet, I actually got it at plus 122 myself, even better. Really just plus odds on this is too good to pass up. Plus 115 is the threshold for the A grade, but plus odds makes it a B grade or better. So no matter where this number goes, as long as it's plus odds, we recommend it plus 115 or better at A grade. Cousin Jared, we kind of had to talk about this. We had an A grade side, so I'm not going to ask you what you saw in it. I'm just going to ask you what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so you mentioned USC having the much tougher schedule, and they, I think, have definitely, more so than most teams, have definitely challenged themselves in the out-of-conference year. They have a nice win over Kansas State, have a win over Seton Hall. They lost by 2 points to Oklahoma, lost to Gonzaga, nothing to be ashamed of there. They lost to Long Beach State. Okay, Long Beach State, one of the better teams in their conference. I believe that's the West Coast Conference. I believe.
I think they're in the Big West.
Close, similar. But that was Bronny James's first game back. I think there was a lot of hoopla around that game that most USC games had not had so far in the season. And then they lost a true road game to Auburn. Kudos to USC scheduling a road game like that going into Auburn. I was pretty impressed to see them do that. So yeah, I just like the way that USC has challenged themselves so far this season. You go look at Oregon on the other hand, and there's definitely some decent teams on that schedule. They've played Syracuse, who's decent, Michigan and Alabama, but I just think top to bottom, USC has done a lot more. I know we've talked about some of these Pac-12 road trips can be complicated at times. A lot of the times when we talk about that, we're talking about the second game. Like it's usually like a play on a Thursday, then play again on a Saturday, something like that, or play on a Friday, play again on a Sunday. Obviously not the second portion of a back-to-back road conference games here. So if USC was playing on the second leg of one of those trips, I'd be a little more concerned. But getting them on the first game here, like you said, USC better team. Add a little bit to Oregon for home court. Still getting plus odds at USC seems like too much value to me to pass up.
Yeah, and you talk about the road trips in the Pac-12 being tough, and that second game thing, something we'll talk a lot about as the season moves along. According to Ken Palm, I think USC strength of schedule right now 45th. Oregon's I think 114th. So Sideline does not have a strength of schedule metric yet because they don't pull in the full season. They're just going to pull in day by day what the games are. So I don't have that built in. Maybe one day we'll have that as a fun feature, but I'm sure it would be relatively close to what some of the advanced metrics are saying on that, which is, we know USC's just played a much tougher schedule. So I think there's a little bit of value here. People are thinking, oh, well, USC's got a couple more losses, but tougher schedule, and thinking on the road that makes them about even. And it's like, I think, on the road, give Oregon the edge. They're about even, then give Oregon the edge. Sideline says, well, add the home court in. That makes them about even. So that's kind of the difference between what the market says here versus what the model says. So we're going to take these plus odds. Again, the wrong team favorite games have been some of our bread and butters. So plus 116 is the official pick. I saw it recently, plus 122. Who knows what it is by the time you're watching this? Again, that's why we have available for everybody in Dub Club what the thresholds are for A grade and B grade moneyline picks for every single game, so that you can kind of follow along and see if you're losing value or gaining value and want to up or lower your wager amount. Which takes us to the nightcap here, 10 p.m. Eastern, Cal State Bakersfield and UC San Diego. Cousin Jared, this one will not be one of the top games of the day. Neither one of these teams is very good. And look at the pace. Neither one of them play fast. UC San Diego plays pretty slow, but Cal State Bakersfield, you're talking that's the 11th slowest, I believe, pace. There are 362 teams, I believe. And so number 352 would be the 11th slowest team in college basketball. We're going to go under 133.5 as Sideline thinks, there's more points in college basketball this year, but we've still seen a lot of games land short of 100 even. A lot of games land in the 110s, 120s, and that's what the model's thinking. This game could easily land in the 110s or 120s because there's just not going to be a lot of pace. Obviously, Bakersfield has a pretty weak defense, but it's not like there's a lot of offense involved in this one. Might be a blowout too. Means you might have a sleepy second half because of the fact that UC San Diego is the much better team at home. Because again, I'll ask you the same question I asked you earlier. You had two other games to pick besides the one we kind of had to talk about. What was it in this one that you saw that made you want to lock it in, even though it's only a B grade?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, learning from my mistakes. I would put Bakersfield in the same category as Liberty, where anytime that you tell me to play an over, I am taking it with a grain of salt. And so anytime that the reverse of that happens, and you actually tell me that I get to play the under on a Cal State Bakersfield game, I am going to jump at the opportunity. If you look at the spread here, the implied total for Cal State Bakersfield is about 63 points or so. They've scored more than 63 points, definitely more than a handful of times this season, 6 or 7 times. But if you look at who those games have been against, it's been against Southern Utah, plays fast, USC, talented offensively.
Plays fast.
And plays fast. Gonzaga, South Dakota State. When you look at some of the slower teams they've played, they scored 40 points against Tarleton State. Tarleton State, another one of those very slow teams. They scored 58 against Fresno State, who Fresno State not maybe quite as slow as they've been in the past, but still a slower paced team. This is just one of those things. I think this has all of the ingredients, and as we've already mentioned earlier, maybe the hangover coming off the holidays. It's just, this has all the makings to be an ugly game. And so, as you all know, that's some of my favorite basketball to watch, is when there's just no points and people are using up 28.5 seconds of the shot clock. So sign me up. This is my favorite type of play to make.
Unders, I feel like you have a love-hate relationship with them, right? Because it can be just crushing when you have an under pick and all of a sudden the pace picks up and teams are getting hot and you're like, this is just, it could just feel like it's going wrong, and you can feel like you're
Mm-hmm.
you're out of it. And people hate unders because it's the only bet that, you can lose before the game ends, right? No other bet is like that, because an over, you still technically have a chance, especially in college basketball with overtime, right?
Yep.
Hockey, you can kind of lose it with a minute to go, barring miracle, right? Because you only get one more goal in overtime. But, baseball, football, a little bit football and basketball, right? The overs, you still have a chance, right? So we hate the unders, and they can be frustrating, but gosh, there is nothing more satisfying than an under when you go 2 minutes without a score because the teams are just so incompetent on offense. You're just like, this is great. Just terrible basketball. I love it. So, you can kind of go either way.
And well, the other way that I look at it, and wise words, as my father-in-law has told me, taking points with dogs and playing under is the only one where they have to. This is the one where they have to beat you. And so you're always winning until you're not.
Until you're not.
So anyway, that's another way that I like to look at it.
Yeah, it's a good point. And of course, happy accident on my part. One of the games that hasn't gotten to 100 this year is Cal State Bakersfield. Charlton State got to 99. I mean, with the changed rules in college basketball, the charge block, adding, a good 2 to 3 points per game, helping offenses. We talk about the extra year of eligibility, the COVID, the NIL stuff, keeping guys around longer, all the ways that offenses are getting better in college basketball, way better than they were 5 years ago. Yeah. And yet Cal State Bakersfield still manages to play a game that doesn't get to 100. And I think it was a great point you brought up. When you brought up Cal State Bakersfield, they've kind of played almost like two types of teams. They've played teams that are pretty quick, going to pressure, that sort of thing, and play a different style of game, but you play those slower teams and they just really swing back and forth, it seems like. And so under 133.5, B grade here. Model says 130.3. So we're a full point away from an A grade here. 134.5 would be an A grade. Because, Jared, this is one of those things where we always talk about too. And these are the types of questions you can ask us over on Discord if you're with us on Dub Club and you're curious, right? On a day with a lighter slate, you'll often hear me talk about, even at 134, I might play this as an A grade, because the only difference between 134 and 134.5 is the win if it lands on 134, which absolutely adds value to your bet, but really is only going to matter if you're getting to the point where you're concerned about the amount of bankroll that you have out on a given day. On a Saturday, I absolutely need every bit of value. I need every win. I'm not looking for pushes. But on a light slate with 4 college football games, 1 NFL game that, my goodness, is going to be absolute garbage, but we'll get to that on the NFL show. And only 18 college basketball games, if it's a B plus where the half point would actually make it an A grade on the push, this is one where I play 134. If you can find that number, probably play that as an A grade, and no big deal there. So just an extra little tidbit for you. Otherwise, though, that is your recap. You can join us on Dub Club for more picks. I clicked the wrong one. There we go. There's the tab one. Join Dub Club for more picks. Got all these banners here over the side. We got a little rust too. A little rust here on the coming back. But again, there is that QR code. If you're with us on YouTube, you can also click the link in the show description, whether you're with us on YouTube or an audio-only platform, to get $10 off your first month. No reason not to sign up. Check it out. See what you like. See if you're liking the Discord chat. We have a lot of fun over there and a lot of information about other sports, the ad-free shows, even if you're just interested in the side of the day that's always done well, it seems like in baseball and college basketball. So you got a play of the day kind of for every sport. Year round, and of course all the NFL stuff, because the NFL A grade picks went 4-1 again last week. So I mean, if there's still time, we went like 7-0 on Sunday. There's still time to join us and make back all your money in like the next week of NFL, because that's just the way NFL's gone. So it's not too late, but it will be too late come January 1st to lock in $25 a month forever. We'll be going to $35 a month after that. So you want to lock it in now, people, and get that better price. I want to reward your loyalty if you get in now, people.
Yeah. And, personally, between the two of us, we have, the story about the North Carolina, I'm going to go with Long Island total in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I don't know, 10 years ago or longer than 10 years ago now.
Probably it was over. It was over.
13 years, whatever. What is, as you like to say, what is time? What is time? We always have that story. The next line in that story is going to be the 2023 NFL season, and how we just could not lose, no matter what happened, just could. All these injuries, a third of the quarterbacks being gone, and we just could not lose. It's just been an unbelievable season.
No, it's a great point, and for people who enjoy hearing us talk, we'll just kind of share that quick story. We were out in Vegas because Joe and I were, for our first March Madness together out there. It was a lot of fun. We bet the under in North Carolina. I think it was North Carolina, Long Island, and we were like, we know these teams play fast, but the number was set at something really high. We were like, there's no way it's going to get that high. And it's one of those, the fish stories. How big was the fish, right? And every time we tell that story, it's like, every once in a while we go back and look and try to anchor ourselves, but it was like, they set the total like 180. We're like, there's no way. And there were like 200 points scored or something. And it wasn't that high. I think it was probably more like 160, but every year we tell it, every time I think about it, the number gets bigger. And it's missing with this NFL season. We're going to talk about how, it was 80%. It's not that high, but it's just been an incredible season. You can still join us for 2 more weeks of NFL and playoffs, the rest of the college football bowl picks, and of course a full slate each and every week now. It seems like coming at you for college basketball.
And just so everybody is aware, that game had, because I'm looking it up right now, that game had 189 total points. So we probably played like under 100,
like 170 something. No, I think it was like 170.
I don't even know. It was
whatever it was. I feel like we lost. We were dead by halftime. We were like,
there was no way that was
maybe it was 150 and we lost it by that much. We got whatever it was, that game did not go our way.
No, it did not go well. So.
Good times. All right. Otherwise, though, Cousin Jared, parting words for people heading back into college basketball for the second half.
40-something college basketball games on Friday. So finally getting back into the swing of things. I feel like with the finals for the colleges and the holidays and everything, it's been a while since we've had a normal college basketball week. But finally going to start getting back into the swing of things here soon.
And then after the new year, it'll get to normal. I think the first Saturday after the new year will be the over 100 games, and that's where you're really going to want to be with the Sun Dub Club, just so you can sort through all that information and kind of just pick out what you want to play, because there's going to be a lot happening. And so get in today, $10 off your first month, lock in the current price. Otherwise, though, we'll see you later.